Last week, I just finished my very first playthrough of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which was a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 that was released over 20 years ago in 2004. It was such an incredible experience, and I now know why it is heralded as one of the greatest games of all time. There was one scene in particular that moved me in such a way that I haven't quite experienced before, and that is the final battle. Now, if you haven't played the game, I'm going to encourage you to pause the video right here before you continue to watch, because I wouldn't want to rob you of your chance to experience this story for the first time on your own. But if you're a Metal Gear Solid veteran or a more recent fan like I am, then let me bend your ear about one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking scenes I have ever seen in all my years of gaming. So, let's talk about that last fight between Snake and the boss, which is easily one of the most memorable battles I've ever played.
Excellent.
Visually, it's instantly breathtaking. This beautiful field of white lilies that has grown in an otherwise barren clearing, puddles floating all around you in the wind, the apprentice being hunted by the master in one last fight. When the fight starts, all you hear is the rustling of the lilies in the wind, and it's unnervingly quiet.
You're better than I remember.
The boss will occasionally call out and taunt you, but other than that, it's just silence. Up until halfway through, and then the theme song fades in.
5 minutes.
And it is so damn cinematic. It really feels like you're watching a movie. This is the last big showdown between the final foe. It was a very meaningful decision not to front-load this song at the beginning of the fight, and had Hideo Kojima did that, I don't think it would have had the same impact. Because the music fades in halfway through the 10-minute timer before the MiGs show up to bomb the field, and certainly in the 5 minutes of quietness preceding this, it's possible to defeat the boss and never get to hear it. But when you engage her in combat for just a little longer, then the music fades in, and it really does seem like a reward to the player for giving her a full last fight. The Cobras are each nicknamed for an emotion they carry into battle, and the boss's emotion is joy for the unsurpassed bliss she feels in war. And ultimately, as heartbreaking as this scene is, for the boss, this legendary hero, for her to die in battle, feeling so much joy from the thrill of the fight, at the hand of the apprentice that she raised, trained, and loved, I really do think this is the most honorable and respectful send-off for this incredibly complex character. This last fight is her final test to see if Jack is indeed capable of thinking like a soldier. This ending is foreshadowed at the very beginning of the game, right before the Virtuous mission. Snake confronts the boss for her disappearance and for her abandoning him before she could teach him how to think like a soldier. And she proceeds to give him a heartbreaking speech on just why he isn't yet capable of that.
You're a natural-born fighter, but you're not quite a soldier. A soldier is a political tool, nothing more. That's doubly true if he's a career soldier. Right and wrong have no place in his mission. He has no enemies and no friends. Only the mission. You follow the orders you're given. That's what being a soldier is.
I do whatever I have to get the job done. I don't think about politics.
That's not the same thing. Sooner or later, your conscience is going to bother you. In the end, you have to choose whether you're going to live as a soldier or just another man with a gun.
Replaying the game and realizing that in this moment, she was telling him that he would eventually have to make a difficult decision, it is devastating. As beautiful and as stylized and heartbreaking as this last fight is, it is equally so freaking cool. When the boss successfully catches you as she's chasing you down, she'll take whatever weapon you have equipped and dismantle it before scattering the ammo and the gun around you.
Is that all you've got? Found you.
The grin on her face as she unloads your guns and takes these weapons apart with ease. This is very much a masterful fighter that knows firearms so well that they pose absolutely no threat to her, and she will always take you down when you're carrying them.
Is that all you've got?
The exception is Snake's CQC loadout. If Snake is unarmed or holding weapons that allow CQC, he will always have a window to counter the boss because this is the technique that the two of them developed together. Now that I've played through this last fight several times canonically, in my opinion, I think that the truly worthy way to defeat the boss is only through CQC, because visually it's just too cool to pass up watching all of those counter animations as they develop into the next stages when the fight continues. But story-wise, it makes the most sense for Snake to defeat the boss using the technique that they developed together, because this is how he ultimately illustrates to her that he has grown into the skilled fighter that she trained him to be, and now his proficiency surpasses even her own. There's one more thing about this fight that makes it unlike any other fight I've played, and it's so subtle that I didn't immediately realize it was missing. And that is the omission of button prompts. There are no instructions on when or how to counter the boss's attacks, you only have your intuition. From an artistic standpoint, it does look much better not to have any prompts on screen telling you what to do during this incredibly moving last fight, but there is a story reason for this design as well. The omission of instruction is the illustration to the player that Snake is finally skilled enough to defeat her. And after her last speech, when the cinematic ends without any indication that it's returned to the gameplay, the final test is to pull the trigger unprompted. There is no third-person overlay or camera angle from Snake's point of view that makes it obvious that we aren't watching a cutscene anymore. When I got to this moment the first time, I didn't even realize that I was being prompted to kill her. I had put my controller down and I was wiping my eyes thinking that this was the final cutscene before I realized that the game was waiting for me to pull the trigger. This transition from the cutscene back to gameplay before you realize the controller is back in your hands adds an organic pause, one that wouldn't have had the same gravity had it just been part of a cutscene. This moment of time between the end of the cutscene and the realization that we're back in control of the game again reflects Snake's own hesitation as he stands above the boss, holding her gun, having just been given the order to kill her. It's not meant to be quick, and it's not supposed to be an immediate reaction. Snake loves this woman in a way that surpasses any other kind of love. This is the woman who raised him and trained him. He's been counting down to the very minute, the days since her disappearance from his life. And even in her last moments, as she orders him to kill her, he still doesn't know why she has done all of this. The game wants me to pull the trigger, is the somber realization that dawns on us as we are watching this scene from afar. And it's such a seemingly small contribution from the player just pressing the trigger button, but forcing us to be the one that ultimately makes that decision conveys so much about this last moment between the boss and Snake. This pause as we are reaching the realization of what we need to do is reflected onto Snake as he arrives at the same conclusion we do. This is the moment that he decides if he's going to be a soldier or just another man with a gun. And he decides to be a soldier. As devastating as this last fight was, the scene preceding this fight is when I initially became completely emotionally unraveled. And that scene is the boss's last speech that she gives to Snake right before their fight. For the entirety of the game, Snake has been utterly confused and left in the dark about why the boss has defected. And when he asks her one last time why she is doing this, she opens up to him and tells him one side of the story. The only side that she has left to tell, because she can't tell him the full truth.
Why are you doing this?
Why? to make the world one again.
The foibles of politics and the march of time can turn friends into enemies just as easily as the wind changes. Yesterday's ally becomes today's opposition. Enemies change along with the times, the flow of the ages, and we soldiers are forced to play along. Politics, economics, the arms race, they're all just arenas for meaningless competition. But the Earth itself has no boundaries. No East, no West, no Cold War. In the 21st century, everyone will be able to see that we are all just inhabitants of a little celestial body called Earth. A world without communism or capitalism. That is the world I wanted to see. Listening to Boss's speech for the first time was such a moving and powerful scene for me, and I was crying throughout the entirety of it. Her words resonated with me in such a deep and meaningful way, and the devastating truth that is like a punch to the gut is that her speech about the endless spiral of conflict remains completely unchanged. It is truly one of the most powerful and moving monologues that I have ever listened to. The final emotional knife twist is when she reveals that her baby was taken from her by the philosophers while she was on the battlefield fighting for her country.
This is proof that I was once a mother. I gave up my body and my child for my country. There is nothing left inside me now.
After I finished the game and I was crying during the credits, one of my friends in the livestream chat actually told me that there was a radio call between Snake and Ava where she reveals who Boss's baby actually is.
Yeah, he's the son of some legendary hero or something.
No wonder he seems to have the right stuff. So who is this legendary hero anyway?
Beats me. The colonel never told me. All I heard was that his mother was supposedly shot in the gut during battle, and that he was born right there with bullets whizzing past them.
A pregnant woman in the middle of a battle?
That's what I heard. They say that when they stitched her up, the scar was shaped like a snake.
Well, that's battlefield medicine for you. What about his father, this legendary hero?
He didn't tell me. I don't think Ocelot's ever met his parents.
Are they dead?
Maybe, I don't know. There were a lot of MIAs back then, during the last days of the war. Ocelot probably would have ended up the same way. But he was taken in and raised by Gru and Volgan.
Because he was special.
That's my guess.
The fact that Ocelot and the boss were both in on this undercover mission in this close proximity to each other, not knowing the entire time the truth about who the other one was, is Shakespearean levels of tragic. Her only connection to her stolen child is this monstrous scar, this gruesome representation of how this woman throughout her entire life has been used as a means to an end. She has been chewed up and spit out by the people she's sworn loyalty to. She has had everything and everyone taken away from her. It is the visual disfigurement that shows the ugliness of everything that she has been put through.
Snake. Commence the operation. I raised you. I loved you. I've given you weapons, taught you techniques, endowed you with knowledge. There is nothing more for me to give you. All that's left for you to take is my life, by your own hand. One must die, and one must live. No victory, no defeat. The survivor will carry on the fight. It is our destiny. The one who survives will inherit the title of boss. And the one who inherits the title of boss will face an existence of endless battle. I'll give you 10 minutes.
And when she dies, we see the scar transform into a snake as it slithers away from her body. Now, whether or not the snake is real or just an illusion, I don't think we can say for certain one way or another, and it might even be both. There's so many supernatural elements in this game, and this is what makes it so special. So it's very possible that this snake could be real. But I interpret this moment in a more metaphorical way. Snake doesn't see the boss as a broken and scarred tool that had been used and disposed of. That isn't going to be the version of her that lives on in his mind. This terrible scar that has been a painful reminder of what was taken from her 20 years ago. This isn't going to be how he remembers her. The image of it will be allowed to fade from his memory, as gracefully as a snake slithering into the lilies. And just like the quandary of whether or not this moment is real or an illusion, the lilies themselves might not actually exist, not in a physical way at least. The clearing that they've grown in is very much dead. All of the trees have long since shed their last leaves, and it doesn't seem like this ground should be so fertile to grow such an abundance of flowers. It's a jarring juxtaposition of life among death. And when the boss meets Snake in the field, she makes a telling remark that implies that what we see here isn't what it appears to be.
It's almost tragic. When life ends, it gives off a final lingering aroma. Light is but a farewell gift from the darkness to those on their way to die.
Lilies have long been associated with the passing of time, and they're well known as the funeral flower for their symbolism of peace and serenity. It's a fitting flower for the boss's last fight, and the final lingering aroma of her life is scented with lilies. Both she and Snake can see them, and it's their deep connection that allows them to experience this beautiful last moment together. And when she takes her last breath, the beautiful white blanket of flowers turns into a crimson sea. It is the visualization of Snake's heart breaking, the moment that the light leaves his world. After you beat the game and return to the main menu, you now see the lily field and hear that last song, and it is a genuine chef's kiss moment. Like, my God, the style and art direction goes so hard in this game, and I absolutely love it. Now, Boss's final speech and that last fight and the ending scene are devastating in their own right. But what makes the ending even more impactful is the incredibly batshit insane fight with the Shagohod right before this. That chase scene as the Shagohod is barreling down the runway behind you with RPGs flying everywhere and explosions happening every second. It is so insanely intense and so incredibly fun. When I replayed the game and I listened to one of the radio calls between Snake and Paramedic, she tells Snake about North by Northwest, which is an amazing Alfred Hitchcock spy thriller. And that film has a very famous scene of Cary Grant being terrorized by a crop duster plane. And I can totally see the inspiration here of Snake and Ava being chased by the Shagohod. But there is so much happening during this epic Shagohod fight, and then the following escape into the forest, and it's all very stressful and dramatic, and I felt exhausted at the end of it. And I think that it ultimately serves as the perfect precursor to place you in a more exhausted and vulnerable state once you reach that final battle. And then after you think it's all done, after you escape on the plane, after Snake and Ava get to cuddle up by the fire and have some wine, Kojima pulls out a secret knife and goes straight for the emotional jugular. During the last cutscene, as we're listening to Ava's retelling of what really happened, we don't get to witness Snake's real-time reaction to the reveal that the boss had been set up by the government in one last assignment to sacrifice her life in order to secure the philosopher's legacy. We listen to this audio recording as it's overlaid with a present-day scene of Snake, now given the title of Big Boss, as he's bestowed honors for being a great hero.
You are above even the boss. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss.
And in this scene, when the president reaches out his hand to congratulate him, Snake refuses to shake it. And it isn't until the president leans in and subtly again demands a handshake for his photo op that he reluctantly relents. And you can see the disgust and contempt that he has for these people around him. being forced to play the role of their American war hero, silently carrying the burden of being the only one that knows the truth about what they've done. And as he visits her nameless grave to lay lilies down before her, and you see him sobbing, it is just such an incredibly heartbreaking moment. His tough exterior collapses and he completely loses himself to his grief. When I say that I cried, it is an understatement. This game truly did emotionally wreck me in a way that I don't think I'll quite recover from. It is one of the most powerful and hauntingly beautiful stories I've ever played. While I was playing the game for the first time, I kept remarking how cinematic it was and how it felt like I was watching a movie, but that is actually a reduction of what the game is. Because when we talk about really powerful stories in gaming, comparing them to movies is what we do as a testament to say how good they are. It's like I'm watching a movie. And yes, a big part of that is cinematography and direction and design, but it's also the ability to tell such a good story. But had this game been a movie, it wouldn't have come close to the same impact that it has. And that is because telling a story through a game, even though it shares the same visual medium as films, is ultimately a much different experience. And Kojima makes a really big point of illustrating this to us all throughout the game. In the conversations between Snake and Paramedic, you come to learn that she is quite the cinephile, and it seems like for every situation Snake is in, Paramedic has a film reference to share with him that has some relevance to his situation and the overall themes of the story. And there's one call in particular that I think is Kojima's direct message to us as to how he classifies this game.
No, really. And someday they might make movies where you control the characters yourself.
Sounds like magic.
It'll happen. Make sure you stay alive to see it, Snake.
Movies where you control the characters yourself. That is what this game is. It's a story that could only have been fully told through this medium. And I'm just so grateful that I got to experience it with fresh eyes, not having had anything spoiled for me even after all this time. I'm a brand new fan to this series. I'm a Metal Gear Solid rookie, and I am now planning to delve headfirst right into this entire series. But my interpretations and knowledge of this story are limited to just what I have available to me in this game. So I humbly ask you not to do any big secret reveals about anything beyond Metal Gear Solid 3, because I will get to it eventually, and I want that wonder and sense of awe of getting to those big reveals myself. And I'm just really excited to joining the millions of Metal Gear Solid fans out there and continuing my journey into this series. Thanks so much for watching my video, and I hope to see you around as I embark aboard the ship bound for Metal Gear fandom. So long.